Donald Trump, the current U.S. president, has just shocked the world by announcing plans to double steel import tariffs to a staggering 50%. At first glance, it looked like a powerful move to protect American industries and bring manufacturing back home. His supporters hailed it as another bold strike against unfair foreign competition. But just days later, Trump quietly reversed course on similar tariffs aimed at the European Union, without any press conference, without any formal announcement, and without even a clear explanation. It wasn't just a policy shift, it was a signal of something far more troubling: economic instability masked as strength. But here's what really set off alarms. 5 of America's biggest companies have responded, not with tweets or interviews, but with something far louder: their exit. These corporations are cutting jobs, raising prices, and in some cases, leaving the United States altogether. And they're pointing their fingers directly at Trump's trade war. So the question is, are tariffs protecting the American economy, or are they quietly killing it from within? Do you think these tariffs are helping American workers or pushing companies away for good? Before we dive into the full story, don't forget to subscribe to the African Web, where we uncover the truths the headlines ignore. It didn't happen with loud protests or breaking news alerts. It began in boardrooms, in financial calls, and internal memos far away from public view. While Trump touted strength and economic nationalism, American companies were preparing for something entirely different: survival. They weren't waiting for things to get better. They were acting. What began as isolated cost-cutting measures soon transformed into full-scale shifts in corporate strategy. Companies weren't just trimming budgets. They were abandoning forecasts, scrapping production schedules, and, most alarmingly, mapping exits out of the United States. Not because they wanted to, but because they had to. The very trade war meant to protect them had become their biggest liability. As tariffs turned once predictable supply chains into chaos, 5 major companies, giants of retail, manufacturing, and automotive, made it clear the real cost of tariffs isn't being paid by foreign nations. It's being paid by Americans. In Bentonville, Arkansas, Walmart, the largest retailer in the United States, sounded the alarm first. Their message was crystal clear: tariffs were suffocating their profit margins. Starting this June, American consumers would see something they hadn't expected from Walmart: across-the-board price hikes. Not just for electronics or imported goods. Prices will rise for food, baby products, cleaning supplies, essentials that millions rely on every single day. But that wasn't all. Executives revealed a chilling strategy. Walmart was slashing inventory, pausing restocks, and cutting supplier contracts. Why? Because doing business in the United States had become too expensive under current trade policy. The economic machine that once thrived on efficiency was grinding to a halt. The auto industry, long considered the backbone of American manufacturing, delivered its verdict next. General Motors and Ford shocked Wall Street by withdrawing their financial forecasts. An unprecedented move. These titans no longer felt confident predicting how much their vehicles would cost next week, let alone next quarter. Steel and aluminum, both essential to car manufacturing, were now so volatile in price that forecasting had become a gamble. Ford paused production lines, GM cut back investment plans, and Stellantis, the parent company of Chrysler and Jeep, laid off hundreds of workers in Indiana, blaming tariffs directly. The auto sector wasn't just stalling, it was beginning to retreat. When Harley-Davidson announced it was moving production of 3 iconic motorcycle models to Thailand, it hit like a punch to the gut. This wasn't just any brand, it was a symbol of American freedom and strength. Yet now the roar of Harley engines would be built overseas. The reason wasn't wages or labor rights, it was tariffs. Foreign markets have responded with their own duties, up to 60%, making American-made Harleys unaffordable. Harley's move wasn't about strategy, it was about survival. And to workers in Milwaukee and Menominee Falls, it felt like betrayal born out of Washington's reckless economic gamble. Caterpillar, the heavyweight manufacturer of construction equipment, announced it was taking a $250 million to $350 million hit this quarter alone. And that's just from tariff-related costs. Their CEO stated plainly, the company was now exploring long-term options to mitigate losses. Translation? They're planning to move operations outside of the United States. The cost of producing bulldozers and diggers in America has soared to unsustainable levels. And when even the yellow machines that build the country's infrastructure are too expensive to make at home, something has gone terribly wrong. Nike, the global shoe giant, followed suit. With over half of its footwear made in Vietnam, it now faces import duties as high as 46%. The response? Raise prices across the board by $2 to $10 per pair and cut back on discounts and promotions. In other words, consumers will now pay more while getting less. Nike also began scaling back advertising and promotional campaigns. Their strategy is clear: adapt or fall behind. And adapting in this case means shifting focus away from a US market paralyzed by trade and predictability. While these 5 companies have spoken out, dozens more are moving quietly. Polaris, the maker of Indian motorcycles, also withdrew its forecast, citing an inability to plan ahead. Target is shutting underperforming stores and cutting orders, with rising prices squeezing everyday Americans. Behind the scenes, multinational companies are making calculated moves. More production is shifting to Mexico, Vietnam, and Thailand, not for cheaper labor, but for policy stability. CEOs are no longer asking, "What's the cost of doing business in the US?" They're asking, "Can we afford to stay at all?" Supply chains are unraveling. Logistics hubs are being scaled back. Contracts are being cancelled. This is not just a trade adjustment. It's a restructuring of how the global economy views the United States as a volatile, expensive, and unpredictable market. Tariffs were sold as a shield, but they become weapons, turned inward. Every unexpected policy shift sends shockwaves through boardrooms. Factory expansions get cancelled, investments freeze, plans stall. When companies no longer know what tomorrow holds, they stop taking risks. And that's the most dangerous consequence of all: economic paralysis. The result? Shuttered factories, mass layoffs, and higher prices for consumers. And here's the painful truth: many of these companies may never come back. Once a factory closes and a supply chain shifts, it rarely returns. The very idea of American economic stability is being eroded. And the longer the tariff regime lasts, the deeper the damage will run. Not just for corporations, but for workers, families, and communities across the nation. President Trump claims tariffs are a show of strength, a way to protect American jobs. But what the numbers show is something else entirely. Those jobs are disappearing. Those companies are leaving. And those prices are rising. The rhetoric may sound strong, but the reality is weak. Tariffs are not defending America. They're bleeding it slowly. And if nothing changes, the headlines we're seeing now are only the beginning. So what do you think? Are tariffs truly helping the American worker? Or are they chasing away the very jobs they were meant to protect? Drop your opinion in the comments. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the African Web, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our next deep dive into Africa's place in the global economy.